So at that time, I hired my own coach who started help me work through. He was not a real estate coach. He was a mindset coach. He helped me think through my own ability to create a new life for myself, right? And I was like, he changed my life. I still work with him 5 years later. And that really inspired me to say, I want to pay this forward. I want to help other people change their lives, right? Maybe it's through real estate, maybe it's through something completely different. So that's why I'm so passionate around it. And now my clients range from, C-level executives to small businesses to real estate agents, actually, to people in various industries and so on. And it's really fun, and it gives me something fun to do and connect with a lot of people every day.
Welcome to CREPN Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals who work with investors, buyers, and sellers of commercial real estate coast to coast. Whether you're an investor, broker, lender, property manager, attorney, or accountant, we're here to learn from the experts.
Welcome to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CREPN Radio. Thanks for joining us. My name is J. Darren Gross. This is a podcast focused on commercial real estate investment and risk management strategies. Weekly, we have conversations with commercial real estate investors and professionals who provide their experience and insight to help you grow your real estate portfolio. Today's interview is sponsored by Building Insurance and Risk. When you invest in real estate, it pays to work with a real estate investor protection specialist to protect yourself and your investment from catastrophic loss. The experts at Building Insurance and Risk focus on real estate investor protection. They provide you with multiple insurance coverage offers and a side-by-side coverage comparison. To learn more, go to buildinginsurancerisk.com. Today, my guest is Jens Nielsen. Jens Nielsen immigrated from Denmark in 1996, and after a successful career in IT, he followed his passion for real estate and coaching and became a full-time real estate investor and certified high-performance coach. And in just a minute, we're going to speak with Jens Nielsen about using systems and mindset to create financial returns and meaningful impact. But first, a quick reminder. If you like our show, CREPN Radio, there are a couple things you can do to help us out. You can like, share, and subscribe. And as always, we encourage you to leave a comment. We love to hear from our listeners. Also, if you want to see how handsome our guests are, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. You can find us on YouTube at Commercial Real Estate Pro Network. And while you're there, please subscribe. With that, I want to welcome my guest, Jens Nielsen. Welcome back to CREPN Radio.
Yeah, hi Darren. Good to see you again. It's been a couple of years since I was last on the podcast.
It has, but glad to have you back and excited to have a chance to talk with you. Before we get going, if you could take just a minute and share with the listeners a little bit about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So 30 years I've been in this country, right? 1996, so it's 30 years this year, and I can't believe it's been that many years. But I came here as a young man, started out on the East Coast and did the traditional, got my education, got my undergrad and my graduate degree, and worked in IT, telecommunication, which was exploding back then, and then later into an IT career worked from companies from small startups to large corporations to local government to Native American tribes. Actually, my last job was working for a Native American tribe in Colorado. But in my, had a good life. Good income, decent lifestyle. Me and my wife both had jobs, so we never really wanted for anything. But what I realized in my mid-40s was, wait a minute, I don't have freedom. I don't have time freedom. I don't have, financial freedom in the sense if I stop working tomorrow, money is not going to continue to come in. And that's when I decided that something had to change, right? There was a bit of a wake-up call with some, injuries and other things. Like, man, I don't have God knows how much time we have. So I decided that I needed to shift. Something needed to change. And that change was, getting into real estate investing. And it was a long-term plan. It was literally a 10-year plan. So I started in 2006 was when we bought our first property. And it was a 10-year plan to buy, one or two properties a year for 10 years and then retire. Well, things doesn't work out that linearly. And I think it took me like 5 years from my first property until I was able to exit my job in early 2021, like kind of right after the height of the pandemic and so on, and to do real estate investing and coaching full time.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about your portfolio. What kind of properties do you have?
Yeah, so I mean, it started out by doing smaller stuff in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I was living in Colorado. Denver was really far away, and also my local town was really small. There wasn't anything. So Albuquerque was actually the closest bigger city that made sense to invest in. So started out by doing some smaller deals, 4 units and 11 and 38 and so on. So those were the initial purchases there in 2006, 2007, 2008, or sorry, 2016, 2017, 2018, right? And then we started syndicating properties in 2019. And that's when I saw kind of the light bulb went off. It's like, oh, wait a minute, we can actually turn this into a business. It doesn't have to be me just saving my own money and buying the next property. We can actually build a business around finding properties, getting investors in, and growing bigger portfolios. So, 2019 and then 2020 and 21 were just years of rapid growth. I mean, at some point, I think when I count back, it has been 2,700 units that we have bought and sold. Now we don't have nearly that many anymore, but it was, as you probably remember, money was easy to come by in 2021, and everybody wanted to invest in real estate. So it was really big at that time. And then as things slowed down, we started to shift into other asset classes like industrial and stuff, and we can definitely dive deeper into that.
Yeah, so you started off solo, and I'm assuming you ran into some of the similar problems like most is the lack of capital. I mean, you can go so far, but then when you team up with others, and you find, like you said, syndicating or whatever, that you find out, it's the raising the capital that gives you the ability to buy the properties. 2,700 units. That's a pretty good resume. Would and I assume that the 2,700 was primarily multifamily. Was that?
Yeah, it was all multifamily. I mean,
Yeah.
for a hot minute, we owned a small mobile home park, which we've since sold, but it was all multifamily, right? And I don't like the unit count, right? Because it sounds like, well, this guy should be, retired on a beach in Hawaii, right? Well, the fact of the matter is, right? So we did a deal, in Atlanta, 200 plus units. Well, I had such a small part of it that, at the end of the day, when it sold, yeah, there was a few $1,000s I made on that, but it was not something that significantly changed my life, right? So I don't like the unit count thing, but it just happened to be I got involved in different groups that were syndicating deals. What I think it's important to step back on and that aha moment when, oh, it does not have to be my own capital. Because when I initially, the 10-year plan was, well, I can continue my job, I can save X dollars every year, and I can buy, a few properties here and there. What really opened my eyes was in 2018 when I found this 38 unit deal. I was like, wow, this looks like a hell of a deal in Albuquerque, but I couldn't buy it myself. And I asked my then broker, I said, hey, are you interested in partnering? He said, yes, but you need to bring some more money. So I was like, ooh, how do I do that? So I called some friends and said, hey, I've been doing real estate for a few years. We got this opportunity. Do you want to partner with us? So we did that as a joint venture. It was just five of us as a joint venture. And that really opened my eyes to, oh, I can get a bigger slice of the pie by doing the work. I can bring other people along. So that was really the opening my eyes to that opportunity of raising capital for these larger deals.
Got it. So you have done then also the joint ventures as well as syndications. Are you currently do you have deals you sponsored as a syndicator, or how are you
Yeah, we
currently
still
set?
have, and we're so quite, I mean, we still have quite a few deals that we have, syndicated as well as a sponsor, right? And mainly, I mean, we have some industrial stuff in Albuquerque, and then we've done some stuff up in the Midwest in Oklahoma, in Ohio, and Pennsylvania, and actually New York as well. The portfolio has, I mean, we sold a few deals last year. We're selling some more stuff this year. So the portfolio has been shrinking a little bit because, the the timeline of that investment has come kind of full circle. So we are, and loans maturing and stuff. So we've been exiting certain things, right? We have not syndicated an apartment complex in a couple of years because of the shifts in the business and the economy and all these other areas, right?
Yeah, I was kind of curious because, during the time period you mentioned, 19, 21, when money was seemed almost free. I mean, and it was just propelling, deals and prices were going up, and it seemed like just all you needed to do was get in so you could get out of one, kind of,
Yeah.
to make money. How have you seen? And I know there's kind of a couple different facets to the question as far as the deal flow. Kind of from just an observation point, it seems like once interest rates go up and cap rates haven't risen, uh, the deals that were happening were because of the delta between the cost of money and what you could you could value add, or you could, an exit was pretty promising pretty quickly, kind of thing. But since the cost of money's gone up, you know, and I'd say it feels like that's one of the primary things, but also I think probably just the market's changed a little bit. Do you have any kind of a sense of where the market is right now? And are you still, I guess, are you still doing, you mentioned light industrial, are you still doing multifamily, or have you fully shifted over to industrial?
Yes, I think maybe break this down a little bit. The shift, as you said, 2021 were great years because money was cheap, right? And nobody could make any return on their money anywhere else. I mean, maybe the stock market, but not in savings account and so on. So it was easy to get debt and also equity, right? And that fueled a lot of deals. It fueled a lot of deals that probably traded for too much money, which, we're struggling with some of that ourselves. But then as the cost of money went up, what ended up happening, there was a delta between the seller's expectation because they looked back and said, oh my God, a year ago, this property would have sold for 100K a door. Right now, I can only get 80. I'm not going to sell. Why should I sell, right? Because they just look back and they missed the boat and they're hoping that they can jump back on there, right? Well, they waited and they sat on that. So that really created a huge delta between sellers and buyers' expectations, right? Because now interest rates are 6, 7, 8%, and they were 3 or 4 a few years ago. So that created a huge gap, right? So the last, so we were able to get in on a couple of agency deals in like 22 and 23, where the interest rate was still reasonable with, long-term debt on there. But then it kind of like anything value add with bridge debt was like, no, we don't want to touch that because the exit is so uncertain now that we didn't. So it really slowed down. We were actually able to recapitalize a couple other deals that some partners already owned, and we kind of, went in there and assumed the existing debt, and so that helped, right? But it was fueled, and then the challenges were fueled by both the rising cost of money, well, then inflation, everything got more expensive, right? Labor got more expensive, all materials got more expensive. You're in the insurance industry, you know what happened with insurance, taxes. So the bottom, I mean, the cost just, we got crushed. I mean, that's maybe a strong word, but cost went up so much faster than income did. And that really caused a lot of challenges there. And we're like, oh no, what do we do? Do we sit on our hands and don't do anything? And then it's where we was like, well, there's probably another opportunity here is to shift towards light industrial or some other asset classes that hasn't seen this crazy increase in values and so on. So I guess, and I say, the last multifamily deal has been a couple of years since we bought something, right? Just because of where everything panned out.
So with the light industrial, are you syndicating those? Or are you buying those solo? How are you?
We've done a few syndications. We've done one joint venture as well, just because it was a smaller deal. And I do like, and I get it, right? If you're starting out in the space, having a lot of capital to put into a deal may be difficult. So syndication seems attractive because, you can put your sweat equity in and get in there, right? I do like joint ventures because it's a smaller group. Everybody's on the same page, and the communication is easier, and it tend to be like longer timelines. Like we're not going to sell in 3 years. This may be a 10 or 15-year hold, right? If you have capital to put in as part of the team, right? So we have some flex space that has done really well, and we're just, three or four of us that did that deal together. So to be honest, right now I much rather do a joint venture with a long timeline, not like we're gonna double your money in 3 year type promises and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think the notion that you mentioned that everybody's on the same page and there's not a fixed timeline or I guess the like mindset is really helpful. At least that would be my perception, is to have people that are all rowing in the same direction and understand up front that, it could be a few years, could be a long time, but all in all, this is a good opportunity. It makes sense. But let's get in and do it. And I'm assuming that's, again, also having a smaller group of people to answer to, and not just answer to, because they're participating as a joint venture, right? I mean, they're they have kind of a. Or explain to me the difference in your experience between the syndication and the joint venture with them.
Yeah, so I mean, in a joint venture, right, you have a small number of people come together to buy a property, and everybody has to have an active role in the sense that, you know, everybody's members of the LLC. Everybody has an active role in that, right? So that could be, it could be big or small, right? It could just be reviewing financials and deciding on large purchases or capex and so on, right? But they're not passive in the sense that you are passive in a syndication. So you got to be, from a legal standpoint, you got to be careful. You can't put 20 people into a deal and call it a joint venture, because not 20 people can't be running a deal, right? So it's going to be smaller. Whereas a syndication is basically, there's a delineation between the general partners who put the deal together, who qualify for the loan, who runs it, on a day-to-day basis, and then you have all the LPs, the limited partners, who are truly passive. They have no day-to-day interaction or say in the operations of the business, right? So once you get to 5, 7, 8, 10 people. There's not a hard number, but at that point, you're probably syndicating, you should probably spend the money to do it to protect yourself and your investors should something not go right. So you don't have the SEC knocking on your door.
Right, right. So, well, tell me a little bit about how your, and I say how your, but the coaching and kind of the discipline, because that's one of the things that part of the topic was kind of the using the systems and the mindset to create financial returns. I mean, you found the vehicle real estate. You were able to leave your job. You've attracted others to invest with you. How are you, navigating the I guess the road with whether they be new investors or clients that aren't necessarily. I mean, I'm assuming are you working when you're like quote coaching? Are you working with investors that are investing with you, or are you working with people that are investing elsewhere?
And I mean, now it actually has moved on to, yeah, do a little bit of real estate coaching and
Okay.
mentoring, but this is basically, it's for high performing W-2 employees, small business owners, entrepreneurs. It's everybody who is stuck somewhere and they want to go somewhere else, right? Because yeah, it was, in the early, 2020, 21, 22, it was a lot of people wanted to get into real estate. As the market changed, not so many. So at that point, I also started shifting my approach, right? But I want to really step back, because for people who are listening and they're like, well, I want to create a business out of real estate and so on. what I realized early on is, those early years were great because it was easy to make money and acquisition fees. But I was like, what if this stops? What if the market change? And suddenly I'm like, I can't do another syndication. I can't. What do I do then, right? I was like, I don't want to have all my eggs in this one basket because then I'll be looking for a job. And I have had friends and associates who they're going back to work because, real estate kind of stopped, fell apart, and they're like, crap, I don't have any other income. I didn't want to do that. So I was like, I need to, and I think this is a core tenet of financial security is have multiple streams of income, right? Maybe that's a job and a side hustle and some investments. I quit my job, so there's no job to fall back on. So I decided I'm going to continue real estate investing. I'm going to have my own portfolio that I don't have to share the profit with anybody. A few joint ventures, some syndications, but then I'm also going to build an active stream of income for two reasons. One, to have income, but the other one was to have something meaningful to do every single day, right? I mean, I can't, I don't spend more than a handful of hours every week on the real estate stuff. So what else am I going to do, right? And that's where the coaching came in. Initially, it was helping real estate investors, new investors to kind of figure out what is underwriting, how do you raise money and all these things. As that shifted, I was like, wait, I want to, and actually let me step back because my story was I wanted to spend 10 years getting out of my job. And then I started seeing, well, this could go much quicker, but I didn't have the courage to make those changes. Like, 25 years of working for somebody else, it's not easy to quit your job. So at that time, I hired my own coach who started help me work through. He was not a real estate coach. He was a mindset coach. He helped me think through my own ability to create a new life for myself, right? And I was like, he changed my life. I still work with him 5 years later. And that really inspired me to say, I want to pay this forward. I want to help other people change their lives, right? Maybe it's through real estate, maybe it's through something completely different. So that's why I'm so passionate around it. And now my clients range from, C-level executives to small businesses to real estate agents, actually, to people in various industries and so on. And it's really fun, and it gives me something fun to do and connect with a lot of people every day.
Got it. So in the coaching mindset from getting people unstuck and like in your own case, sounded like you were having success in the real estate investing, but there was an attachment to your job. What are some of the hurdles you see that people need help with, you know, making the change?
Yeah, people don't have a strong enough vision that pulls them forward. They have it'd be nice to quit my job. It'd be nice to invest in something. And nice is not good enough. There has to be a really strong reason to move forward. And quite often it's pain, right? Quite often they, hate their job or there's a situation they don't like. If the pain is not strong enough, then we have to develop, a strong, compelling vision to pull people towards something bigger, right? And that's really helping uncover, like, what are the true potential you have? What are the, what is that, what is the purpose? Why you're here on this earth, right? What's the purpose? Not like, this grand scheme, but just getting people to realize there is something more and creating compelling enough vision for them to start changing, right? That's a big thing. Now, not everybody comes to a coach because they're like, oh my God, I hate my life and I want to, quit my job and do something completely different. It can also just be they feel a little bit stuck. They're like, well, I know I can do more, but I'm just stuck a little bit. And getting people unstuck through, getting them to develop a clearer vision with some strong goals behind them, and then back that up with strong habits and courage and influence and productivity so that you start making these changes, right? It doesn't have to be massive. Some people it is, some people it's just small shifts, but I think we all want to be more and do more and contribute more, but quite often we don't know how to get there ourselves, right?
Right, right. No, I am familiar with the being stuck, and having to kind of, you know, shake shake the cobwebs and understand, what the possibilities are, and then apply my efforts in a new direction to try and make some change because it doesn't just happen. You have to really apply yourself in a new direction in a new way that's more of a, or at least my experience has been kind of more focused and deliberate, not just waiting for things to happen, but actually having a plan and working the plan, kind of
Absolutely.
thing. So I get it. As far as that goes with the kind of the coaching and investing, have you any kind of I mean, we've talked a lot about like all the different roles and stuff involved in real estate, but one of the things that I heard you say was just kind of more of a compelling vision. I mean, something that really kind of gets you excited, that wants you to get once it gives you a passion. I mean, I think a passion is something that that I recognize. In fact, I was just having a conversation with my son about this, about the importance of having a passion and being passionate about something that gets you excited. Is that part of the kind of that compelling, something that really, you know, gets you gets you excited? I mean, is that or is it more of like you even mentioned like identify the pain that you want to get removed?
Yeah, I mean, for personally, right? Personally, initially, real estate was just a vehicle to find a way out of my job, right? Which I realized you got to be careful about that because when it's easy and money is flowing and stuff like that, that's all good. When it gets hard, then you have to really dig a little bit deeper and be more connected to that deeper vision behind it, right? And it has really shifted a lot for me in the sense that I don't feel a lot of excitement in just doing syndicating another deal, right? Because I'm like, okay, then what, right? That's maybe there's more money, but there's also headaches and challenges that come along with it. So the projects that we're doing, and unfortunately we had to back out, but we were working on a local project where we wanted to take an old warehouse and convert it into a kind of an artist community space. Like, wow, this is really cool because here we are creating something for the community to get around and providing a lot of service and value and so on, right? So if I can do that, that really connects. I really connect a lot with that, right? That's much deeper. The other piece that I really have enjoyed has been working with really cool people, right? Because syndicating or anything, most real estate investing, it's not a one-man job. There's multiple people. So if I can get to work with really cool people, I can learn from, I can grow with, that's also really valuable for me, right? So now it definitely has shifted because I have, I'm fortunate. I've reached a lot of the goals I had 10 years ago. So kind of have to continue to move that vision, those ideas forward, so it doesn't just become stale, right? So that's does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, once you achieve a goal, it's kind of now what, but I think in the word stale is something I'm very familiar with, and I've yeah I am attracted to I don't it doesn't have to be quite exciting, but something fresh, new. I mean, it keeps my mindset, a more cheery mindset as opposed to just the same old, same old, same old kind of thing. And
Right.
but constantly being aware of you know, and I think one of the things that I hear you say, and I see the value in is having a coach, somebody that's kind of holding your feet to the fire, or at least a sounding board for what you're dealing with, and who can give you some feedback, or at least help you kind of refine your where you're going, or the questions maybe you should be asking in order to create a different outcome, kind of thing. I feel like that's a worthy experience all by itself. Is just that exercise of having somebody else where I can get my thoughts out of me. I know that part of my process, part of my processing is verbalizing what's going on in my head. And it
Hmm.
helps tremendously to just have somebody, a trusted somebody that I can, you know, kind of barf up whatever's, in my head and kind of help work through it, as opposed to not having that somebody that can, listen and then also help try and kind of not guide me, but just ask some questions that maybe I wouldn't have thought of, uh, on my own kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to sit here, right? I have my journal here. It's easy to sit here and write goals in my journal, but if nobody ever looks at it and I don't look at it again, it doesn't become very real, right? When
Right.
I articulated my goals to my coach for this year, he reminds me every time I see him, and I have to do the work to push towards those goals because otherwise I'm letting myself down and to some degree him, right?
Right, right. Yeah, and then once you speak it, I mean, now it's out there. It's and I think there's kind of holding yourself accountable too. Because now you've shared that idea with somebody else. It's not just something that was a secret.
That's right.
And I think there's a lot of power and accountability, and and even if you don't reach the goal, uh, the chances are, if it was a big enough goal, you are going to have some measurable success. That's you're now further along than you would have been had you not tried or had you not set the goal and worked towards the goal.
Yeah,
And so, what's that saying? It's not the end, but it's the journey kind of thing. It's not the destination, but the journey. I think there's a lot of
sure.
truth in that. So,
Yeah. And I think it demands a lot of creativity too, right? As it's shifted from, coaching and mentoring real estate, investors and so on. I had to get creative and say, okay, who else is out there? And it's really fun to go and work with new types of industries and people because it challenges me to learn about that. Everybody has the same problems. That's not the thing, but it's fun to work with new industries because I get motivated, right? I'm working with a group of residential realtors here in Santa Fe, and it's an expensive market. And these guys are going to sell like $150 million worth of real estate, like residential real estate this year, most likely. And that mindset of being able to do that many deals and that high end of clients has really stretched and challenged me to help them, get the right systems and processes and things like that in place. So it's really fun. And I think the key thing as a real estate investor, we have to remember we are entrepreneurs first and foremost, right? And entrepreneurship can be investing, it can be so many other things, but let's not get stuck into a box. Let's just be creative and find new things that really, really is inspiring to work on every single day.
yeah. And I heard it said the other day is a lot of times that, my focus is on what could go wrong, as opposed to asking the question, what could go right? And,
Right.
that's kind of the glass half full, half empty kind of a look at things. But just to be conscious of, what could go right, is an important kind of a question to ask anyway on that. So, are there any special systems or anything like that you help, or that you utilize to, with your coaching, to
Yes, I
achieve
think,
goals?
so we always have a framework for the coaching and so on, right? Go through a process of clarity, entity, courage, productivity, and influence. What I think for the small businesses and stuff that I work with, and also in our own business, has been to put like an operating system, a business operating system in place. And a lot of people have heard about, entrepreneurial operating system and so on, EOS. I'm not a certified implementer, but I've used some of those tools. And you probably, a lot of small business owners are started by that visionary who has a great dream, who has something amazing they want to achieve, but they're not the strongest when it comes to building the systems and the processes. And my 25 plus years of IT experience has helped me design systems and processes and all this stuff. So I come in there and just look at basic things, right? What have we done in order to, do we have right meetings, right scorecards, right goals, and so on, and then put some of those key things in place. It may seem obvious for somebody who is organized and system driven, but a lot of people, it's just like flying by the seat of their pants, right? So just putting a little bit of structure in place can mean a huge shift in a very short period of time, you know.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, Jens, if we could, I'd like to shift gears here for a second. As I've mentioned, by day, I'm an insurance broker. And as such, I work with my clients to assess risk and determine what to do with the risk. And there's three strategies we typically consider. We first look to see if there's a way we can avoid the risk. If that's not an option, we look to see if there's a way we can minimize the risk. And if we cannot avoid nor minimize the risk, we look to see if we can transfer the risk. And that's what an insurance policy is. It's a risk transfer vehicle. And as such, I like to ask my guests if they can look at their own situation. Could be your clients, investors, the Fed, the political, whatever it is that you identify and consider to be the biggest risk. And again, for clarification, while I am an insurance broker, I'm not necessarily looking for an insurance-related answer. And so if you're willing, I'd like to ask you, Jens Nielsen, what is the biggest risk?
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at risk is now is a little bit different. I look a lot more protecting the downside, right? In the past, it was all, well, here are all the ways it can go well, and we can make a lot of money and so on. Practical experience has shown that it could also go bad, and if when it does, make sure you protect your downside, right? So that could be, insurance is one way. I mean, as I mentioned before we started recording, we just had a fire in one of our buildings that shut down the whole building for months. I mean, that's where we had to transfer the risk to the insurance company, obviously. So that's one thing. But even in deals that may not go so well, we try to protect capital and so on. But if that doesn't work, are we actually protecting ourselves through, doing non-recourse loans and other things like that, right? So I'm really focused on right now protecting the downside, because the downside is what can crush you. The upside is what gives you wealth, right? And so that has been more and more in my mind, to protect the downside, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. How not to lose.
Right.
That's, you know, it's one thing to like I said, have the win and the upside, but I find that most of the seasoned, investors who have had some experience, they're much more conscious of the downside and how to guard against that. And the deals they do are usually, or I shouldn't say usually, but much more focus on downside risk, recognizing that upside is the goal, but ultimately we don't want to lose. And
Right.
return of capital is not a bad thing, as opposed to losing your capital.
Yeah.
And so that makes a lot of sense. Jens, where can listeners go if they'd like to learn more or connect with you?
Yeah, the best place is just my personal website is Jens, Jens Nielsen, Nielsen.us, jensnielsen.us. And there's a resource on there that will pop up. It will show it's a vision building workshop or worksheet that I've created that people can download if they want to work on their vision. It's too few people actually spend time on. So that should pop up when you go on there. And there's a link to schedule a call if anybody is interested in real estate investing, coaching, mentoring, business consulting. Feel free to schedule a call with me. And we also have I do a few times a year, I do some group coaching, and my next one is coming up on April 10th. I don't know if the episode will air in time. So that's my positive intelligence coaching that's coming up. So that's another thing that people may want to check out. But it's all on my website, jensnielsen.us.
Awesome. Well, Jens Nielsen, I can't say thanks enough for taking the time to talk today. I've enjoyed it, learned a lot, and look forward to doing it again soon.
Thanks, Darren. A lot of fun.
All right. For our listeners, if you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, the more you know, the more you grow. That's all we've got this week. Until next time, thanks for listening to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CRE PN Radio.
You're listening to CREPN Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals. For more information on this or any of our guests, like us on Facebook, CREPN Radio.